Well, good evening, long time no see. We'll move into our study session with 1.01, 2016-2017 calendar committee, Dr. White and Mr. Easlis.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, audience. We have a brief presentation from Dr. White and the calendar committee this year. I won't go any further because I am very proud of this process. I'll just leave it at that. Dr. White, I'll let you take it over. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Easlis, and congratulations to you, President Adam Lopez, and to you, Ms. Alvarado. Thank you. Congratulations. And thank you, Mr. Zamora, for what you've done to serve our district over these last 3 years and before being president. This evening, we are excited to be able to share with you that we had a calendar committee formed earlier this year, actually back in September. And to begin with, I'd like to first recognize any of the members of the calendar committee that are here today in the audience. If you don't mind, please stand. If you are a member of the calendar committee.
Yay, thank you.
We're going to start with a presentation. Just, I will give an overview of what we did in the process. But I'd like to begin with some of the members of our committee. We had over 30 members in total, and 3 of them are here tonight to just give you some reflection on what that experience was for them. We'd like to begin with, in our planning department, we have Rainey Kramer, who's been with us. She is going to share some insights. She's representing the classified staff. And then we'll have, following her, on this side, we have Lisa Elliott, who was also on the committee. She's representing the classroom teachers. And we also have Ms. Stacy O'Rourke, who's principal at Granada Primary. She's going to be sharing from the administrative side. Right?
Good evening. President Lopez Paul, governing board members, and Mr. Easlis. My name is Rainey Kramer, manager of the printing department. As a seasoned employee for 33 years, I was invited to be on the 2016-2017 committee calendar. This included all staff members, teachers, classified personnel, administrators, and parents. The committee felt it was important to gather input from employees and parents, and conducted a survey to gather opinions that helped the committee make recommendations for the 2016-2017 school calendar. The surveys were done using online surveys for employees and a hard copy survey for the parents. A team of people from the committee did an awesome job completing data surveys sent out to our parents and our school staff. As a committee, we looked at the results, the data survey, we discussed, we debated the results, and we determined, based on the feedback, the calendars to recommend for consideration. I really enjoyed working with the calendar committee because it was an eye-opener to me just to see how the process worked. The time it took to look at every calendar, and we looked at many, many calendars, and making sure that every question was asked and answered. So, leaving this with the committee, I learned that working as a team player, making things happen, and everyone does matter. And thank you.
And yes, I did have to scratch out President Zamora. President Lopez Falk, members of the board, Mr. Easlis. My name is Lisa Elliott, and like Rainey, I'm a seasoned member of our district. Thank you for listening to my personal experience with the 2015-2016 calendar committee, which was magnificently led by Dr. White. Before I begin, I would like to share a quote from the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you may learn something new. This quote is meaningful because our great district is listening. It's listening to the needs of the parents, the teachers, the support staff, the administration. Working with my colleagues and parents of our district on this committee was a joy and a privilege. Everyone's perspective was heard and valued, just like Rainey said. I gained a better understanding of how the yearly calendar affects our families and our staff. Again, I want to thank all of those involved in this process. I think that it will be definitely beneficial to all of us. Thank you again for this privilege.
Good evening, Mr. Lopez-Falk, members of the Governing Board, and Mr. Eastless. I'm Stacy O'Rourke, and I want to say thank you for this opportunity to share with you what I experienced on being as a participant on the calendar committee. Right from the beginning of the meetings, I felt that I brought many different perspectives, being the principal at Granada, and then also a parent of a previous parent in the district and a previous teacher in the district. I felt that I brought the perspective of all those areas. The culture of the committee was created right from the beginning. The first few meetings served primarily as informational meetings for all the constituents, and we answered questions of all the members of the committee. And there were many questions about about what do we do on our half days, and what do we do when it's district in-service teacher days, and what happens at the beginning of the school year. We talked about how the calendar was going to affect the district budget, and how would it affect instructional time, and also how would it affect personal time and family time at home as far as daycare and things like that. During the first few meetings was spent with members that included, as the other two ladies said, parents, teachers, classified staff, and administration, and we talked about things that some people didn't have a clue about, and so it was very informational at the beginning. Participants were patient, informative, and authentic. And one thing I specifically appreciated was that we made time for all opinions and all questions to be answered and clarification, to get clarification if needed. As a participant of this committee, I was also able to hear the needs of the staff and parents, but it ultimately all led down to academics and time in the classroom and student instruction. Ultimately, I believe that the input we received from all the members of our organization was critical to the recommendations that we're going to bring to you this evening. Everyone was able to have a voice in the process, and I feel fortunate that I was able to be a collaborative part of this. Thank you very much.
I'd like to just go forward and share just some insights on the process. We began on September 2nd, and we actually began with discussing what it really took to put the calendar together, the complexities, everything associated with the process. We shared various components and variables that could be considered, as well as some non-negotiables. We have to do 180 days. That's not negotiable. The committee also gave input and engaged in lots of rich conversations, discussing pros and cons, and also prioritizing potential items for consideration. At the end of September, we met again, and we had an overview of the information that was discussed, and we had more members. Mr. Eastless was one of our biggest cheerleaders. He was out recruiting and helping to bring new members to our team, and we ended up having over 30 amazing people to work with because of his support. With that, we did do some overviews and some catching up to help everybody feel like they had been on track with all the information that had been shared. The committee discussed different samples of calendar configurations that were from other districts, from districts surrounding us, as well as districts that even reach a little bit beyond our boundaries. We also felt that parents and staff needed to be surveyed, and so we conducted a survey that could be administered to everyone. On October 15th, during the parent-teacher conference time, we actually issued the parent surveys for input during parent-teacher conferences. We had one survey for family because we did not want to overwhelm parents with 5 kids with 5 different surveys, and so that allowed us to get their input. Hard copies were given to our classified staff, and those individuals who did not have access to online services, we gave them hard copies. We also spent some time on October 19th giving a link to our staff so that they would have one-time use usage to be able to give their input on the calendar. All those surveys were returned to us, and on November 2nd, we started to compile a lot of that data. And there was lots and lots and lots and lots of data. I will be sharing a few pieces with you tonight. Also, the administrative team and our various departments were given an opportunity to have hard copies with their staff too, because many of them have classified staff that work part-time. We wanted to make certain that everyone was included. With that, we then began to meet again on November 9th. We came together, and like some of the members of the committee said, we had a calculation committee night. We spent lots of hours going through all of the data, bringing it together and discussing what we believe data was sharing with us and how we could best make the recommendations on what we experienced. We then developed some proposed calendars based on that survey data from parents and staff, and the committee had 5 options to look at that point. December the 2nd or 7th, we then looked at that data again, and we all agreed and voted on one we favored most. We had 2 options, and they were very, very close in terms of agreement. So we were feeling good that we had captured most of what we believed everyone was wanting to see. I met with the superintendent to share just an update on where we were with the calendar. And on December the 8th, we met with our administrative team, and we shared the options A and B, and they were able to discuss what they thought as a team, and the administrative team looked at and voted on option A. The school principals and department heads went forth with a PowerPoint presentation so that they could share the results of the calendars, option A and B, with the certified and classified staff at their sites. They then were able to conduct a people vote for those inputs from the actual calendars themselves. And then we then brought that back together, calculated the results, and I'm going to be sharing with you just some of it so you can see what the committee actually came up with and what the school did. On the first slide here, which is just a continuation of all of the schools, it includes the first effort that we made to get input from everyone. We had 3 questions. Would you support beginning the school year early, 1 week earlier? Would you also support weekly early dismissal for staff professional development? And the third question would be, would you support implementing all of these things? So this is an input survey that we gave to all of our staff, to all of our parents. And what you see here represents our certified classified staff, parents by school.
You can tell the parents are ready to send the kids back to school. That sticks out.
So these are the first few schools, and it just continues on with what was the outcomes for each of the schools. And this information was sent to all the schools, so everyone has had it to be able to see what we look like as a district. Our process has been very open and very transparent.
Mr. Zamora mentioned that the fall break numbers are very, very high
Yeah.
across the board.
It was very obvious that that was a high interest.
I think I discussed that actually.
So what you see here in our ending results, we had about 82% across the board on our schools and departments and parent interest. Where that was just an input. Now this particular data represents what we look like by way of individual schools, and noting what we had by way of parent response and number of households per school, and then the outcomes that they had for their schools as well. And this included preschool as well as the district office. This was the final count of the vote between A and B for classified staff, and this represents again what each school shared by way of their data from their actual vote on A and B. we're really fortunate to be able to say that the results are so similar that people felt good about either calendar. A lot of the feedback we received said, we could go either way, it doesn't matter. Some of the feedback was more specific to looking at, and also your copy of these, I'm not sure if you all received those. You received a copy of, hey, this is the one they recommend. And this is the one that the majority of our staff and parent surveys indicated would be the one we want to go with. The grid at the bottom kind of gives you an overview of what each of the color coding represents. We have our professional development days, which will begin the first week of school, showing in green, where teachers will come back to the pre-service time. School starts with the yellow, first day of school being yellow, last day of school being yellow. The light green indicates the early dismissal days that we have for professional development for our staff. And we have those showing a slash mark to it so that they can show that they're early release days. If you notice on those, there are no early release Wednesdays on days that we have holidays that are already in that week. The purple represents our fall recess and winter recess and spring recess. The blue represents the holidays that students get receive their national holidays. And the pink indicates the end of quarter when we have our grading periods in. The red, of course, is our days for parent-teacher conferences. One of the things I did mention that was really significant and of concern to our committee is that we did not want to have any of our classified staff have to receive any consequence as a result of being on a different type of calendar. So the days that they're going to be receiving for the fall recess, which they've decided that they want time spread apart instead of all together, those are paid days for all of our classified staff. That was one thing that the committee was very insistent on making certain happen.
Very good, very good.
So subject to your questions, that basically concludes our calendar committee recommendations.
That's very thorough, very nice.
Dr. White, I think I can say on behalf of the board, thank you to you and the team for all the work that was done. I know this couldn't have been easy. I'm overwhelmed just looking at it, but this is so important, adding in that recess and making sure that everybody's included is Friday. Thank you guys for that commitment.
And I can say that, echoing what the ladies who presented, they were amazing. We would not have done it without a team, without the vision that Mr. Eastman had, because he gave us the opportunity to actually participate in a collaborative process. And it was quite an experience, and we appreciate you for putting on this resource. Thank you. And thank you to the committee. Thank you for those of you who showed up tonight.
Was there any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. White. Now we'll move to Arizona's Measure of Educational Readiness to Foreign Teaching, AZ Merit Overview. Mr. Eastman.